Welcome to the episode of Rangecast. We're going to call it Rangecast. Just made that up right now, but super excited for everything we've been doing. We have the CEO of Range Marketing here, Spencer Rubeck himself.
Alive and well.
Alive and well.
Yep.
We're glad to hear it, And Desmond Johnson, handle the marketing here for Range Marketing. And we're just going to chop it up today. There's a lot of things going on within the company, a lot of things going on within business, life, and just excited. I haven't had a chance to sit down with Spencer in a while and just talk. We talk at work, but it's not the same.
It's kind of crazy though, right? Like we're doing so much throughout the day. When do we get time to just sort of shoot the shit and hang out?
Exactly.
It doesn't really happen. Yeah, on Saturdays. Every day you're kind of like, can we chop it up? Let's chop it up. And I'm like, man, you see what's going on here. We gotta fire. We're moving.
We are moving.
It's a vehicle here. We're moving really quick. So
absolutely
glad to get the time.
Speaking of the vehicle, we just a lot of things going on in the marketing world, I would say.
Yeah. Not just the marketing world, but the industries that we serve too, right? Like in the cannabis space, last year we saw a ton of consolidation, a lot of change in the industry. And that's one of the really cool parts about marketing is that not only the industry that you serve changes, but also the way you market changes, right?
Has to.
And this year we saw AI kind of come into the picture. Was that a disruptor? For us, it hasn't been. It's kind of been an add-on, right?
Which has been pretty interesting too, because we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
With all the content that it can create when it comes to. Because a big part of SEO, obviously, is the content writing.
Sure.
To make you rank. But as you guys, you could speak more to that, but I know it hasn't been as big of a threat because you still have to have that unique content to actually make, it still has to stand out. If everybody has the same thing, then it's the same thing.
And it may be out of place too, but for me, when I go to use those systems, just try to talk with it, have a conversation with it. You kind of realize how intelligent the human is because it's still not picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being a little bit theoretical in my conversations as I usually am, but come on, let's have some concepts here. But it doesn't really hit that.
Yeah,
so,
not yet at least, and we hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with the CEO of ChatGPT.
He wants it to get to that point.
He's very careful. He has to be very careful in what he says.
He's got to be. He's got to be.
Just like it has the power to. They're trying to stop it from becoming too powerful, but I'm like, that it's like counteracting. How do you stop?
How do you
stop?
Trying to
make
something?
It so good, but then you have to stop it from being too powerful. So people are scared of it. They're scared of what it can do.
It's funny though, kind of like 5-10 years ago. Did you ever hear the term IoT?
Yeah.
Like that Internet of Things, right?
Yeah.
And AI was still kind of a buzzword, but it didn't really matter back then. It was really machine learning, and now you see AI as like a big buzzword, and everyone's saying this is AI. You go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, you see reels, and it's like check out these 10 AI websites.
Yep.
And in reality, bro, they're really just websites. They don't have AI. Some of
them don't.
I'm telling you, like I've looked at these, and it's like these are just basic functioning websites that they stickered as AI. So you see a lot of kind of that taboo going around too.
Yep.
Which we're familiar with. We're in the SEO space, which for a very long time was the black sheep of marketing.
Which is crazy because, it's one of the most important.
A ton of value.
The most important. If you get searched, if you search something, we just know like the second page of Google's a graveyard. And like, or even down the page of Google's a graveyard. If you're not the fucking first three, if you're not the first three, you're not showing, no one's clicking on you.
Right.
That's a huge thing.
And then Google plays games where they'll kind of change that layout, and they obviously it's a business, so we understand that they want revenue, they want to increase their revenue. So pay-per-click is always going to be the first thing that you see. Humans know the difference though. We kind of know what we want.
If it says ad.
Yeah.
I'm still not clicking on it.
Yeah.
So we still like organic because now literally when you go on there, it's like 3 ad, pay-per-click, then you see the map.
Yep.
Then you see organic. So organic is still towards the bottom of the page.
Still towards the bottom of the page, and that depends on the industry too. Cannabis,
really?
Yep. Cannabis is one way. So cannabis kind of reads the way that you just said. Pay-per-click, you don't see as much. It's sort of like don't want to play that game in cannabis quite yet. But in home services, they have LSA ads. They have Google Guaranteed ads. Then
I've seen the Google Guaranteed.
Right. So you got Google Guaranteed, you got pay-per-click, you got LSAs, then you got the map pack, and then you got organic.
Which is the bottom of the page.
Right.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
You have to pay to play now.
But again, Google just does things. They push things out and roll back. Similar to, and unfortunately, what you'd like to do with AI is sort of roll things out and pull them back. Kind of pull back what doesn't work. But as you mentioned, once it gets to a certain point,
what can you really?
Especially from an open source, API that people can use.
Forever. They're gonna have to make us pay for it.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're just gonna have to. It's too powerful not to monetize. They monetize some of it. It makes fills in computer code for you. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
We talked about that with Carl. Carl did a lot about that.
Yeah, that's impressive. Like that's very cool to me. I think that's unique and different. I still believe though that you have to have the original creator of something. You're still gonna need a human element to create something to kind of contain it. robots, and it's like, you know, if you have a conversation with a robot, talk to ChatGPT, and it is just so black and white around the edges, right?
Oh, it's just. I don't know how to, they were describing in that interview, but it's like it's not facts, but it's just spitting out exactly what it's going to spit out. Like,
Yeah.
It's not an opinion. It's not, I don't know how to describe it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what it is. And it's
Yeah.
like, you don't have to believe everything it says. It's just spitting out what it finds,
Yeah.
you know? But it is wild. It is wild.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that whole development. You know, I still think at the end of the day, when you're talking about AI, how's it going to affect search engines? And not to dive fully into AI, but
Yeah.
at least from my standpoint, you're always going to have an original creator of content, because where's it going to get the information from? So
Exactly.
think about 2,000 businesses in the next year, and that's a small number. That's a gross estimate below what the reality is of new businesses that open up, that create a website. That's the first time that they're going to be on the internet. Is AI going to solve that problem? How are they going to get found?
Yeah.
Is AI just going to know, like, they are the search engine? I mean, that could be the case maybe in 5 years or so.
I think that's what it's becoming.
Yep.
I think it's its own search engine.
At some point, at some point it will be, but still today it's referencing those original sources to generate that search, to generate that content.
Yep. It's
So
not
it's,
even real time either, because everything it pulls is like still 2 years back.
oh yeah.
You know that? Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of pumped about this. I said this a few years ago, you know, really when we got into Range 5 years ago. I've been saying this for a long time, that I felt that we're really building the platform for AI with all of the data that we create. We produce 18,000 articles a month of organic content, original
That's nuts.
content. Yep,
I didn't know
18,000.
that.
You didn't know that?
18,000 I
Yeah.
didn't know 18,000 a month.
That's probably a low number. That's from the last time I looked, and I don't know when that was. So that's the amount of content that we're putting out for businesses to speak on industries. It's original content. It's human written content. We still don't use AI because we want original content. So think about that basis of information that we put out there, and not just my company or our company, but all search engine companies that are out there creating content, creating original pieces, video content, vlogs, right?
Yep.
Those are all original pieces of content that the AI is then going to reference in the future to kind of produce those results that people are looking for. So that's the fun part, you know. We're kind of involved in the process, right?
Yeah. It's a fun business.
Yeah.
And speaking of the business, we can just go into different things we've started doing this year, what we've seen in the industry, what we've seen. Well, let's start with Range.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, I'm relatively newer here. It's probably been like 6 months, but like, it's always funny to me as owning a company, because I had my own marketing company. And it's funny, we're good at marketing for other companies, but you don't think about your own internal marketing, which was the same. We had the same problem. It's like we're so busy worrying about how to make other companies succeed, we forget
to take care of ourselves.
Take care of ourselves. So,
yeah.
You
saw that when you came into Range, you're like, okay, we're missing this whole element.
This is the whole department.
Yeah, the whole department.
Yeah.
The marketing department didn't exist at Range. I mean, that's so the first thing that we came in. You joined in, and let's start working on that. Let's create it. And I think we've done a great job of kind of establishing that, at least the basis of what we want.
Basis, yep, we're getting going. You know.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows the 12-week year, the basis for that is 90, which is like called My 90. We use that here, the EOS system.
Yep.
And just getting your main rocks down, and then figuring out the plan to build them and
even before that, I thought what was really interesting about EOS, and I think it was probably the most impactful thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur is implementing that system. Is really because you want to have a 10-year goal, a 10-year vision, and then the ability to work your way back from that 10-year goal is the trick, right?
Yeah.
It's always that old adage of how do you get to the moon? Well, let's start about let's see what it's like to land on the moon first, and then work our way backwards from there. I always love that, and that's pretty much what EOS does. So just the other day, as an example, there's all these little things that you see, Desmond, that we're in the weeds, we're trying to solve these little problems, and then we're coming towards the end of the quarter, and I look at, okay, what's our 10-year goal? How are we aligning with that 10-year goal? Are we helping companies get found the right way? Are we growing that basis of companies that we're helping get found? Just the simple parts, right?
Simple, well, yeah.
And then it kind of just realigns what we got to focus on every day. So that's been EOS itself, I think, has been an amazing experience.
I mean,
yeah.
we do it in our real lives too.
Yeah.
Like, our producer here, Kevin, we do a 12-week year with a group, kind of like a mastermind group. And we
thanks for the invite, guys.
Well, yeah, we were actually going to invite Spencer as well. We were going to have him on there, but wanted to test it out.
I'm playing
first.
with you.
Yeah. I know. But it works for real life stuff too.
Yeah.
You have to build the bigger goals and then figure out how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And make the plan to get there.
For sure.
So, I mean, just with the marketing department, and I mean, there's obviously leadership goals we have for Range too. I don't know all of those, but as for the marketing department, we are on track and doing well. Yeah.
Well, I think one major thing that we accomplished this year was a huge pivot. You know, we've been in cannabis. We've been focused on cannabis for the last 2.5, 3 years heavily. And when, you know, creating technologies and investing around those technologies in that space. And this year we, as an add-on to our company, we wanted to get into the home service sector. So we launched Range Home Services about a month ago. We've had 3 successful trade shows as a result of that. And it's kind of something that we did it overnight. It happened really quickly. It's a very successful part of our business, and home services we've always focused on. But the ability to sort of let's create a brand and let's actually give away our value to that industry was new for us. So super excited about that development, and honestly impressed, you know, by your efforts coming on and being able to juggle so many things.
Thank you, thank you. I want to talk about what made you think to create a new brand instead of just being under, because we're still Range Marketing.
Yeah,
and then you know there's a division of Range Home Services.
Powered by Range Marketing.
Powered by Range Marketing,
yes.
What made you think of doing a completely new brand and why?
Yeah, you know, we tried to enter the home services sector before in the past. A lot of the challenges that you have is our brand is really cannabis heavy. It's cannabis strong. Home services is by all means a blue collar, you know, type of industry.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that the same thing could be said if we were in home services or going to try to target cannabis. They'd say, okay, these guys work for roofers and not dispensaries. Why would I work with them and why would I invest with them? And we know in the cannabis space, it's a very brand heavy industry. And so I didn't want to muddy the Range Marketing brand that we built such a strong presence in the cannabis space with another industry. And truly, you know, it's not just you know, a facade. It's not just an act. We actually have 2 separate divisions of labor. So, you know, our enterprise side of the business is that cannabis multi-state operator. And then we also have the other side of the business that really focuses directly on local home service companies, fencing companies, roofing. And that's the fun part. You know, we take it from a marketing concept to actually the operations of the business.
It really is 2 separate divisions.
Separate divisions.
That's what I was getting at, because, you know, they always say when you're a jack of all trades, you're really a master of none. But we have done well enough in the cannabis space that like Range Marketing is focused on cannabis. So we've been focused on home services. Let's build out something different to then make it its own focus.
Absolutely.
So now we can fully hone in on both.
Well, as an example as to why, you know, just from an operations standpoint, you look at, okay, you know, the cannabis industry, as we mentioned earlier, it had a huge shift last year. It went from a lot of single location dispensaries to 13 dispensary locations in one business, which we call multi-state operators, because everyone was being acquired. So now it's really one entity that owns these 13 stores, right? So we created new technologies, new products for that space. Our MSO product, our enterprise website, it's essentially a website within a website for all the locations. They all share
pages, or
they all share the same master site. But when you go when you go to an
Mm-hmm.
individual store, it's going to have those products and you know, the geographies and stories around that neighborhood of what's happening at that store, which is a completely different way to do SEO. So for us, it was like, okay, not on the operations side, we got to staff for that. We got to build a lot more technology around those products. Whereas with home services, we're really, you know, building a 1 location website, typically maybe 2 or 3.
Typically, yeah.
You know, so it's a different operational standpoint. So it made a ton of sense for us to divide it up, and we're having fun doing it.
Definitely having fun.
Yeah.
It's a cool. It's just even down to the design parts. You know, it's a cool logo.
Oh, the websites.
The
man.
websites.
Our team makes
you know?
some beautiful websites.
Because that's my mind. I like the aesthetically pleasing stuff.
Yeah,
you
same.
know? And it really is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
This is the Range logo, and then just like great job by Paul, our CTO, who went off and created a whole, you know, branding and imaging for
home services.
So
it's a challenge though, right? Like when you talk about, you know, website aesthetics and what looks great on a website, the biggest issue for a long time with SEO companies has been, how do we make a really good looking website that also ranks on Google? Because there's a lot of content that needs to be on the website that may be a little bit ugly, it may be a little bit cluttered, but that's really important for robots. You know, what we're realizing is that humans are also just as important. You know, the user experience, the UX, right? The conversions on the website. You know, it's not that we weren't aware of that, but we know what gets companies to rank. And so having a strong balance between design and necessity is that's kind of the game that we play all the time. It's a puzzle. I mean, that's literally what we do.
And that makes it fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun doing that. Yeah. So, I mean, we can just chop it up here too. I want to describe like what it's been like for you personally.
Yeah.
As in how many years now how many years have you owned Range?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
What's been let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What's it been like? Because I mean, that's people. I know the whole difference of when you acquire a company, it's different than obviously starting it from your own. But like you basically had to do both. because you still had to build up and they had
An
the
entire
process
brand.
already, build up an entire brand
Yeah.
around it, and now 5 years in.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and this is something I was just talking with Brian Cleary about, who owns Interlace Digital the other day. He's
Shout out to Brian.
Yep, shout out to Brian. Great guy, great company. We had a lot of the same experiences in growing pains, and I can tell you this: 5 years out from where we started, it's almost the same issues at different levels of that issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like a seesaw. You know, sales increases, you got to work on fulfillment. You know, you're trying to get that balance the whole time. You know, and that is one of the most fun parts, I'd say, about entrepreneurship, owning a business, you know, as well as being the leader of that company.
Yeah.
Those are two different things within that.
Yep.
So, you know, you have to make decisions that's best for the company, but also best for the people. So it's also a balance there, you know, in your day-to-day life, in your business life, and the decisions that you make. Fortunately, we have a great team around us. I think you've seen that.
Yep.
Phenomenal talent all around the room. I honestly say it all the time when we're in our leadership team meetings. I feel like I'm surrounded by the smartest people that I could find.
Which is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
So you can have those people to bounce off the ideas and get that, you know, actual feedback. And not everyone's just being a yes man. Be like, well, we'll just go with what Spencer says.
Well, yeah,
You know,
we should not do that.
Exactly.
We should definitely not go with what I say
You know,
all the time.
But that's smart to have that. You have to have the balance.
Well, for sure, and you know, part of EOS, as we mentioned, my role is the visionary. So formally as CEO, but I'm really the visionary of the company, and you know, we've done personality tests within the leadership team, and I fit that role.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, 20 ideas, large ideas, you know, little detail. It's kind of like, we're going this way, we should do this thing, and I exist in my best state at that point.
Yeah.
When I start to get into the details of things, I can solve problems, but you really don't want
That's
me.
the way I am too.
You don't want me fiddling there, trying
Yeah.
to pick weeds. You know, you want me kind of out there doing the things.
The big picture.
Yeah, and as a company, though, as you just mentioned, that feedback that you get, it's so important, you know, from my integrator, Tom, from Marcos, from my partners and the leadership team. They kind of take, okay, he's in outer space. Let's whittle this down. Let's go.
True, yeah.
Let's go from the moon. Let's go back to planet Earth and see
figure out
where
how
we
to get
start.
there.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I'd be on the moon sometimes too. You know, I have
Absolutely.
the big ideas and
You
we all
do.
get excited about them, but having to break them down is where, you know, I also have to have you or someone else
Or
just being
support.
an integrator for support to do that.
Yep.
Otherwise, you know, I'll get lost in the weeds, and it's just like you can't do that.
And then you and I are just in the weeds. And we don't even know
Just
what we're
talking
doing.
about, you know, just talking about ancient civilizations and society. And
Is
what
that
we're
Desmond
doing
and Spencer outside? What are they doing
What
out
are they
there?
doing? Just talking about just nonsense. They've been doing this for hours. No, it is so true though. Yeah, I just continue going, but at the same time, just wondering, like, so we built out our rocks. What are some of the rocks for the company as a whole this year?
Well, interestingly enough, before I even answer that, I'm kind of curious from your perspective, real quick, if you don't mind. What's it like to come into a company like this and kind of, from your experience, you've owned a business, so coming into a business that, you know, we've had 5 years going, you know, 35 full-time employees, 36 actually now as of like yesterday.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you? As
Well,
an
of course,
experience?
it's a little bit interesting because I knew you beforehand.
Yeah.
And I knew Range. From owning my own company, I got to say that Spencer makes it look a lot easier than it is. Because it's not easy. And I think that's one of the biggest things I see online a lot. It's like entrepreneurship. Everyone's like, yeah, it's dope. Like, go do this. And it's like, yeah, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of things that, like you said, those little details. I'm the big thinker of like, well, this is where we want to be. So I think like, this is the biggest things we can do. And then getting down to the details. Like, I don't want to work QuickBooks. Like, I don't want to have to do taxes.
Oh,
like, I don't want
yeah.
like down to HR
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So like coming into an organization that already had all that handled, from someone who I could say I'm a little hard-headed. I liked my own time and being able to do what I wanted to do. But that infrastructure part was the hardest part of it.
It is.
Like having someone else be able to handle that and you just focus on what you are good at is dope. So I mean, obviously I'm loving it. The team is like we have you know, Alexander's like the only, pretty much Alexander and Lydia who are in the office too. But it's pretty much like a giant frat house. It really is like a giant marketing frat house, which makes the energy fun.
We tried the suit and tie thing for a while.
Yeah,
and, you know,
you can wear it if you want to.
Yeah,
but I mean, just be loose, and I mean, it's just
we went with
it's
the
fun
Apple Play,
environment.
you know?
Yeah.
A little bit of the Apple Play, get a ping pong table in here, whatever we got to do.
We should
Try
get a
to-
ping pong table.
We should get
Yeah,
one.
we could fit one right in that corner.
Probably.
We-
And a
we broke
massage
the
chair, too.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was funny, actually. So you guys are in this office, and I'll go back into the spiel, but a
Yeah.
funny story. So me and Spencer are setting up this studio, and just speaking of Lydia, who's a wonderful woman, she's one of my mentors too. She had a table in here. It was a conference table,
Oh my
and
God.
it's just it's huge, and it's just a piece of like 3-inch thick glass on the top of it.
Yeah.
And you know, we're like picking it up and like, oh, it's attached. It's attached. Needless to say, everyone else is doing their work in the office. Everyone's going about their business. We pick this table up, try to flip it, spin it to go through the door. The whole glass just comes down, and it was just shattered. And we're just staring at each other like, did that really just happen?
It really happened. And we saw it was kind of like slow motion too. Like we knew it was like a movie. Honestly, it could have been a movie scene. We're both looking at each other, kind of Dumb and Dumber, like, all right, we got it. The whole piece of glass fell off, shattered,
just fallen,
yeah,
just fallen. So
that's what you get for trying to make a podcast room in your office, you know?
Exactly. I mean, we did a great job. It looks wonderful.
I think we did.
And
yeah.
Luckily, well, Lydia forgave us. I don't know.
We don't know if
we don't know if she did. But
we don't know. The table's still in the office, so we'll see when we try to move that out. And
we got to get her some
maybe
more
we'll
glass.
just get a new one. We'll get
it was really slow motion though.
Yeah.
It was super funny. Slow motion.
It's probably still glass actually over there by you, Kevin. Watch out, man. I actually do see some glass right there.
Everyone's just like, what did you guys do? What did you guys do? Tom walked down, was like,
oh no,
wow.
Too funny. We were having fun, man.
And his calm demeanor is just like, what just happened?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, things happen.
Minor
We're not
injuries.
supposed to be moving things. We're not movers.
Yeah.
We're
staying out of the weeds. Staying
exactly.
out of the weeds.
That's not our job. We should have had someone come up and do that.
Right.
But it is crazy that it's like being in infrastructure now, just like being able to, like I said, actually focus on what I want to be doing is awesome. So it's been a great experience so far. I'm trying to get more things to say about it, but like, no, I love it. Obviously knew the company beforehand, which helped out. But
you know, it's interesting though when you take that back to like kind of the startup aspect. And I'm not good at the startup aspect. Like I've done a bunch of startups. I failed every single one of them. Probably like 10 different startups. I'm not good at doing that. I can't do the, you know, I can wear the multiple hats at a basic level. But to flesh out those departments and staff those departments
so hard.
As a startup, it's not something that I'm better with something with legs. And so in this opportunity with Range Marketing, we were blessed to have a little bit of legs. Really simple departments, really just fulfillment. There was no sales, technology, operations, finance. You know, we built all those out. But the ability to kind of have sort of a basic structure, you know, the dashboard that you see, that our employees see in our intranet, that was kind of already existing when we acquired the company. So that gave us a good blueprint.
That's a good base,
yeah, it was a good blueprint for us to say, okay, let's take this. It has legs. Let's make it grow.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it's interesting feedback though.
Yeah. No, it's sure. Just it's been fun, and I think I've learned too that I'm the same way. I don't like. I'm better when it's not a startup. Right. Like having to build out every single piece of the company is just something that, and you think like, and I came from real estate, so real estate's different. You think you're building, it's like a startup, but you also have the backing of the broker. So they have the marketing stuff in place. They have where you know your contracts and you send it to somebody and they review them. Like you think you're doing
there's processes involved.
There's processes involved that like even when you're thinking I'm an entrepreneur, I'm doing this as real estate. It's still processes.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing with my old company Viral Edge is like we were having to create the processes, and like especially it's a little bit it's tough to say, but if not everybody agrees on the process, then it just takes longer to get anything done.
Yeah.
So that was one of the
100%.
biggest issues we had, and it's just nice that I don't have to worry about processes. So
Well, so we're at year 5 now, and we've had this, as a sales example, we've went through probably 7 to 10 different proposal systems and methods. So like it's the same issue we've had since day one.
Yep.
It's just different and enhancing, and we're getting better at it. And like right now, I feel like we solved it. We're good. This thing is simple. It's easy. Let's see what happens in a couple of years.
Yeah,
let's see what happens.
Now, I mean, it's obviously more efficient than it was before.
Oh,
so
yeah, right.
And like you said, it took a while to even get
Every version gets a little bit better.
Yeah, and different companies obviously have different ways of doing it. Because I know just like you were like you had the proposal, then we had the contract, and then like now like I've always noted to be when we did it, it was the same thing.
It was all the same thing.
It was all the same thing.
Yeah.
So they would just see exactly what we're proposing. Then the bottom part, they go through the contract and you sign, you pay, and then it makes it easier.
Sure.
But, it's just different process.
Yeah, 100%.
That's good. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. And like I said, that example in sales exists at every department in the company. The way that we're fulfilling, the way that we're communicating with clients, that customer journey is a big part of it. The one thing I will say that I'm super excited about at Range, and I think that makes me the most excited every day, is our culture and the team that we have. When we started implementing EOS, I was a little bit interesting because people always mention to me, you're going to see culture really impact your company. People are going to leave because of culture. That's what I was told. People are going to leave because of your culture. I'm like, no way. Not a chance. Guess what? 7 people left last year because of our culture.
Really?
We changed the culture. And it was a positive thing that we brought the right people in. And it's been the same business, before we took ownership for 10 years now. So people are stuck in their ways when they want to do things a certain way.
Yep.
And this is really just a straight up conversation. It's reality to see that actually happen in front of you, as we change the culture.
The change.
Yeah, it was just it was uncomfortable for people to live the new core values and to live what we're doing. That blew my mind. I did not think that was a real thing. And Stas Balanevsky is our EOS implementer.
Okay.
He told me that this is going to happen. And he's like, be ready for it. I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, we'll see.
They still love our company. They're not leaving.
Yeah, and they do, and they still do love
yeah.
the company, 100%. Great relationships with all the employees that have been here, that have left, that have helped get the company to where it's at today. And thankfully they've gone on to do their own businesses in most cases.
Okay.
Or and we support them with that. That's something I love when people go and do a challenge on their own. And I'm glad that you could grow here with us during that time. Let's see how we can help you get to the next level in life as a person.
Absolutely. Which is one thing I love about Spencer too. And then we'll take a quick break here. But he's always open-minded to see that everything in life is a stepping stone to get to where your eventual goal is going to be. Not everybody's going to be with you forever. Not everybody's supposed to be here with you forever. But to have the mindset of actually being like, well, I know that, so let me go let them be free and do what they need to do.
100%.
That's a
I appreciate you.
That's a big thing.
Appreciate you.
Awesome.
We have fun.
So we'll take a quick break here. So we get back into some business things. I could say what is your so right now we're building out our rocks, working in the marketing department. I guess going to anything. Yeah, it's hard to think about everything that's going on, but giving people some insight,
I think
helping them out.
I think at a place where there's so much change in the world, there's so much change in marketing. One place I always wanted to be, and this, Desmond, is the ability to really acquire at a mass scale other companies.
Yeah. Yep.
That's I always have my mind on that level of entrepreneurship. I want to be able to acquire 100 companies in a year and do it with some success. And I love Range Marketing as a vehicle for that because we can help those companies grow. So on the marketing side, if I can acquire a company and know I can grow it, why wouldn't you acquire? Why wouldn't we do it?
Exactly.
So that is part of the goal. We still have Range Brokers here, which we've been building out, and you help with a ton. That's been a work in progress. So
that's fun. That
will be actually our 9th department in Range Marketing soon to come. That will be our acquisitions department. And I've always seen that as the future. We got to get these other parts fixed up first, which they are. But again, it's that seesaw. Let's get it so it's really flat all the time, and the boat can move. And I think we're going to be there in the next 18, 24 months. And that's where my vision is always at. What can we acquire? How do we grow? I had a great conversation with Jeff Harris, the CEO over at Springbig.
Okay.
They're a public company. They provide amazing reward technology in the cannabis space. Pretty much any dispensary that you go to and sign your name on a piece of paper, they're going to text you rewards, and those rewards are done through Springbig. Jeff told me, from an acquisition standpoint, you buy for 2 things. One, it's either technology or people and process. The second part would really be financials.
Yeah. Of course.
And which side of it's more important, right? At this point in Range's life cycle, people are the most fun part about the business. It truly is. Whenever I have a new employee that goes and buys the dream car that they wanted, I'm like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
It's more about that.
Helping them get to their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Creating that life for them.
How many lives can we change?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, how many lives can you change, and what can you help people grow with?
That's the big why.
Yeah.
How many lives can you change?
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I love to hear that, of course, obviously with Range Brokers.
Yeah.
That's just a whole, we've talked about that before. That's just a whole different segment of life that I had never, it's so cool, seeing you, the CEO, being the owner, and then I go visit owners and just understanding how much people really do know about what they're in. You have to know what you're in, and watching them and here. We went on a meeting on Wednesday, and it's a manufacturing company, and just
yeah.
I just got a chance to learn about CNC machines and everything like that, and just diving into different aspects.
It's a whole world, man. It's a whole world when you get into it.
How much of their life revolves around it. And he's like, I've been doing this for so long, and it's hard for some people to leave.
Yeah.
To actually exit themselves.
Yeah.
To fully exit. So.
And that's the thing is anything that we look at, and I can relate to this in the marketing world in our own departments. It's like, okay, there's a problem. It looks like it's fixable, but as you start to dive into that problem, there are layers to that. And it affects everything. So you got to make a really universal decision with a lot of unilateral input.
Yeah.
You don't want to just do something. One of the mistakes I'll tell you a mistake I made early on in Range was making unilateral decisions for the company without the team's feedback. That actually hurt us more than it helped us, and not because people were upset, but because I didn't have the valuable input that my team could have given me to kind of advise the right direction to go. So that's kind of the same thing when you're looking at a new business to acquire. At the surface, okay, we can fix this part and this, this. Oh, we just got to do these things and it's going to grow.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, and we see how hard that's really going to be.
Yep.
Even as I stand here confidently and say, hey, we can acquire companies and grow them with marketing, I know the reality of that.
It's not all that simple.
It's not
simple in
shaking
theory.
salt. It's
Yeah,
not shaking
exactly.
salt and pepper. There's a little bit of work you got to do beyond that, but
Yeah.
ready for it.
No, I'm ready for it too.
Yeah.
We love it. Any other books you've been reading? I'm trying to think of things I've seen.
Yeah, this Never Take the Free Lunch by Chris Voss.
I've heard of that. Chris Voss did. He also did Never Split the Difference.
That's the book.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's the
That's
book.
the book.
That's the book. But
Never
one of
Split
the
the
one of the
Difference.
lessons is, never take the free lunch. It's part of the lessons of that book. It's one of the things that stuck with me. I am currently reading it. It's a pretty interesting book. He was a FBI negotiator.
Yeah.
Talked people off ledges, literally, from hostage situations. Like he kind of talked people back from that. It's a lot of interesting stuff, and honestly, a lot of it so far from what I've read is a lot of sales-based knowledge.
Yeah, it is.
So really good salespersons will kind of understand that already. I think really, really good salespeople actually do it, and they don't realize what
Realize
they
they're
do.
doing it exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
I
a couple
wish
of those.
We do have a couple of those on the team. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get better, obviously, with sales, and I think it depends on the type of sales I'm doing.
Yeah,
Because obviously, if I'm like talking about I can convince. I do this with Kevin all the time. It's just like we go back and forth about packages and pricing. I'm like, well, Kevin, if you look at it this way, man, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like going through that process, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Sales is actually fun when you're. I feel like when there's no pressure of really trying too hard, because I feel like that's a big thing I felt with companies when I first started was the pressure made me not want to sell. It's different for everybody. But
what do you mean the pressure though?
So like you had to keep like a quota type of sales.
Oh,
you know?
okay. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
and there's you want to hit goals, but I think it's the way you frame it.
Yeah.
'Cause I worked for Enterprise, and they were just like, if you don't hit this, this, and this, I mean, you're gone.
Yeah,
And then you get nervous and don't know how to hit this, this, and this, and then I was gone.
Yeah,
So
you gotta-
like, it's all a learning process, and it's just the way you frame it. They're like, well, we're pushing you to be motivated to get to here.
Yeah.
If you don't, we'll teach you how to be better. But it was like, no, you hit it or you're gone.
yeah.
You know?
It's important to set people up for success. Anytime you don't set the stage for success, you feel the pain as much as the person will. They won't have the confidence to do the right thing, and that's where I truly believe. Before you even set someone up for success, the basic fundamentals of that is having something successful. And I really feel that our product is, you can go to any SEO vendor in the country for $300-400 a month and get a cookie cutter website. They'll do the very basic things, but when you work with us, you're getting as much value as we can squeeze out of an SEO knowledge base, right? Like we're really performing the best that we can, and it's a puzzle. It's always changing. That's why it's a monthly effort. It's not something we do one time and you're done.
Yeah.
Guess what? Like we just talked about, Google changes whenever they want. You got to be able to adapt with that change and have the research and platform for success, right?
It's about the adaptation. You have
Adaptation.
to.
Yeah.
That's everything in life, but it's all about adaptation. And
Absolutely.
figuring out how to move. If something happens, like you said, we're changing the culture. People it's not necessarily they didn't want to change and they didn't want to adapt. And then they still obviously great people, still love them.
No,
but
yeah.
it wasn't for them anymore.
Yeah, the company optics change from from an internal standpoint. That's what happens when you change culture. And really, at the surface, it wasn't changing the culture so much as finding what it truly was.
Mm-hmm.
And once you find out what it truly is and you define that thing and make it a part of your daily life as an individual and as an employee at Range Marketing, that's where people weren't existing that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we just we'll just go our separate ways and we'll find people that fit that alignment. So that was a really cool experience, man. I want
Yeah.
to trade it in my whole life. That was one of the most interesting things I've ever seen.
I encourage everyone to do the My 90 EOS Entrepreneur Operating System is what the whole acronym stands for. But it is life changing.
Yep.
and good stuff. And I think one thing about goals, and we'll close out here. I love what Kevin said the other day, and it makes a huge difference. And we see it right now. What's going on with Tyler is anybody who is
man.
down or feeling like they just need to catch something. It's all about small wins and momentum. Because if you have momentum, you're going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And even realizing it's all about changing your thought process too. You'll be even smaller things you can think about as wins, and it's still momentum. Even if you went to the gym 3 times this week, you went, if you didn't go at all last week, that's still a win because you went 3 times. Now you can go 4 times next week. It's all about momentum and building on it and getting there.
So what Tyler's done is he's mastered what you just highlighted is a dopamine thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're sitting on your phone and you're scrolling, you're chasing dopamine the whole time. When you're going to dinner, think about it. As soon as you get to that dinner table and you have that first bite of food, dopamine's gone. You're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
When can I get to the couch and lay down and scroll again? and then you do that, and then you're empty. It's a constant dopamine thing. And this is not I'm guilty of it as well. Every human is. It comes from hunting to survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a human basic thing. Let's catch the woolly mammoth and eat because we got to survive. And we've grown from that to let's scroll on Twitter, let's scroll on Instagram, whatever, to chase that dopamine. What Tyler's done is very impressive. I'm super proud of him. He's been able to say, okay, all of these things that I'm doing consistently are small wins. It creates motivation, which creates then more, call it luck. You only get lucky when you work hard. That's the truth.
Yeah.
You see
there's
people,
no such thing as luck.
or there's no
Tom
such
said
thing.
that. There's no such thing as luck. He's right about that.
Yeah.
It's just hard work and process.
Absolutely.
And good things come.
And I think he's a leading example for anyone that is worried about their success in their career. Younger, kids in school that maybe not have the best grades in the world. It's showing up on time, doing what you say you're going to do. And he'll talk about this. This is the things that he lives by.
He does.
As a result of that, he's astronomically successful here at Range. Super proud to see that.
I think it was like 5 meetings booked and
5 closes.
5 closes this week.
And these are like a close for us is not a one-time sale. These are multi-year relationships. This is a big commitment for a company to put all their eggs in a basket, to trust us to handle their digital marketing. Guess what world we're in now? Everything's digital.
Everything's digital.
So it's important to have the right partner. And just head nod to Ty for that.
Yeah, head nod
Great
to Ty,
job.
and just everybody keep your momentum going.
Yeah.
Because think about the small wins and the little things you do that are getting you towards the bigger ones. Like just because you didn't sell a $2 million business doesn't mean you aren't making the strides to actually get to there.
100%.
And,
sometimes just making your bed.
Yeah,
for real.
For real though, I started doing that too.
I won't leave my house unless my bed's not made.
See, I used to, and
really?
it's all about. My dad used to get so upset. And it's like when you get out of the house and like you hate the things that they used to make you do, and you didn't realize why they're making you do them. But it's something simple like that to be like, well, you just have to make sure your things are in order. Take care of your business.
How can you sell
making your bed?
How can you sell somebody knowing that your bed isn't made in the morning? I might start doing that with people. And they're trying to sell us like technology. It's like, yo,
Is your
actually,
bed made?
Did you make your bed this morning?
I can't sell it.
All right.
No.
Call me back next time you do that.
Your life ain't together. I can't sell it to you. Make sure your bed's made.
Yeah,
but it is true though. Like
right?
bed made, like those little things.
It's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah.
And I mean, my bed's made right now. Dog's probably laying on it.
Yeah.
Happy.
There you
waiting for me
go.
to get back home. But
Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah. Always the momentum though. We keep it going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For
So,
sure, man.
it's been a good range cast. This has been me and Spencer. We can do this all day if y'all don't know, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different things we'll kick around.
We'll have some fun with this.
We will have a lot of fun
Yeah.
with it. And we have a lot of different people coming on here soon. We have Tyler coming on. I'm excited to hear from him talking about roofing. We'll have
Some
Nate coming on.
entrepreneurs as well. Yeah.
Nate can talk you out of a house and home, but I'm excited to hear him. But he's a radio host. I mean, he can talk you out of house and home. So
I got to get him his own office or something, man. He just goes.
yeah. Him and Tyler, like, I don't know, like other people. This is a funny thing, but like these guys, if they are, I told this with Mark when I was talking to Mark, but if they are doing something, you can't do anything while they're on the phone at all.
And we put them on opposite sides of the office too, and they're both. It's
just
like they're in
so
competition
loud.
for who can shout louder.
Who can be louder? But I mean, they're getting stuff done.
It's good energy
But,
though.
yeah, great energy. So we'll have him. We're gonna have Jack from MTA 360.
Yep.
We're gonna have the co-founder of Terply on, which is one of our partners.
Yep.
Which is awesome. So there's a lot of good things in the work.
I'm excited for it.
I'm super excited. So we have a good episode of Rangecast.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All
Were
right.
we good, Kevin? We were just rambling. It was good though.
Nice, man.
Yeah, we gotta do this like bi-weekly.